So, Professor Rick Mehta from Acadia University, you seem to be just yet another academic who has come across a problem when it comes to freedom of speech in your classroom between you and your students. Can you fill us in about your particular problem at Acadia University?
Well, I think basically the problem is I've managed to get under the skin of three major activist groups on campus. So there's the Women in Science and Engineering, so basically the women's groups, the Women in Gender Studies, and their, related groups by countering their views on, or basically saying that there is a role for biology in terms of explaining sex differences, choices, values. So that was one aspect. I also did critique the role of feminism, the fact that you had a social movement come into the university under the guise of an academic discipline, and then its viewpoints are being spread throughout the academy, which has implications then for people when they graduate and go on into positions of, let's say, teaching or politics. So there's been that aspect. The trans activists are another group, and I've also expressed concern about the decolonization efforts. So what really got me, I guess, famous was the tweet I put to Andrew Scheer because I had been concerned about the decolonization, and that was my way of expressing it at a federal level.
Can you explain decolonization?
Well, basically, within the university, they have a movement that's called decolonization or indigenization. So rather than just adding a perspective so we can have more discussion, it's about having that approach replace the current curriculum, and that's being done without consultation and under the guise that if you disagree with it or voice any kind of opposition, that you must somehow be endorsing atrocities that happened in the past.
Oh, so it's a way of expunging the record of the colonial or the European ancestry here in the West and making sure that that voice is not heard?
Exactly.
Rather than adding an indigenous voice, you subtract the Western voice.
Yeah, and it's not even, in my view, even an accurate representation of the indigenous voice, because it's just the stereotype of the indigenous being these eco-activists, and we know that it's far more complicated than just that.
So what kind of trouble did you get into with your university?
Well, with the decolonization, when I expressed a viewpoint about that, the Dean of Arts, he's now on sabbatical, but he was a co-chair of the Presidential Action Committee on Decolonization, and he sent a very rude response, just saying, you're unscholarly and you're just engaging in confirmation bias. And he didn't even say anything about any of my concerns. And this was on a public email, so this was not just to me personally. And so I do have a copy of that email.
So he made it public?
Yeah, because I expressed it as a concern because I wanted discussion about this issue. So, like, why has no one wanted to talk about it? And I was very diplomatic in my tone, and I included references because I wanted it to be a scholarly discussion. And the response I got was, that you're not you're unscholarly in your approach, and you're just looking for confirmation bias, you're grandstanding, and just an absolute discounting of what I had to say without actually reading, without any analysis.
Did he not call you in to ask you your point of view and your side of the story before he responded to the complaints?
No, not at all.
Oh, rather one-sided, isn't it?
Yeah, no, because I put the email out on a Friday late in the day before leaving, and I think it was Saturday around 1 p.m. So I can easily circulate that email if it was requested. Yeah.
So have you found any backlash over this reprisal, or this, I shouldn't call it reprisal, this response from the university towards your behavior?
Actually, yes. Actually, if you go to the Aboriginal People's Television Network, they have on their website an article that they did about me, and there the media spokesman actually said very specifically that the university is engaging in efforts so that students who are offended by what I had to say don't have to take courses with me. And so the evidence I can give for that is the department did not give me the courses I'd requested. So I've been teaching the large sections of introductory psychology since 2006. So as an example, the first half I've taught since 2006 and even had 2 teaching awards last year. They've given me a small section of Intro Psych 1 that's in the second semester with 75 students roughly. And we don't even know who's actually teaching the first one yet. It's by a new hire, and that position hasn't even been filled. So it's hard to say that he didn't have the ability, right? My research methods course, the course on critical thinking, that was taken away. So the courses that are required by psychology majors, those were taken away at the departmental level. I did put an appeal of that. That was backed up at the level of the Dean of Science. And then, of course, there's the VP academic who launched the investigation into me. So
where do you see it going from here?
Difficult to say. I mean, I met with the investigator, but I can't say anything about that because that's confidential. So it's a matter of waiting. My understanding, at least, of what the process is, that the investigator will release a report. There won't be any recommendations in the report, but that's what goes to the VP academic, and I get a chance to respond. So that's my understanding of the process there. And then in the meantime, the dean wants to meet with me about enacting discipline based on various complaints that were supposedly submitted to my designated head.
Do you know who the complainants are?
No.
Oh, so anonymous?
Yeah, I was just told these are the kinds of statements that were made, but I haven't got any specifics about. Yeah, or I was told that I was used non-scholarly sources. I was even accused of test questions not being based on course content.
But aren't you a professor?
Yes, I am.
So doesn't that make whatever you say necessarily scholarly? Because you're a scholar.
Yes, exactly, but not in their view anymore. But yeah, so anyway, the key point, just to get back on track, is that the dean wants to meet with me about enacting discipline, and he does not want me to have a lawyer present. So my lawyer said to him in an email, you can't make the reasonable argument that my client's allowed to have legal representation on the one hand and then denied on the other. So that was on April 19th, and then this week, of course, my lawyer's away and out of the country. And that's when the dean said, I want to meet with you next week about a disciplinary meeting to discuss discipline. So I just responded back, is that this is what my lawyer said on April 19th. Please include him in the in your coordination. He also wanted to discuss some other issues, and my response was, please follow the collective agreement unless there's a misunderstanding on my part.
Well, we wish you well.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.